Alright, it looks like we are up and running. So this week for the Let's Watch Doctor Who video, I decided to do something a little bit differently. And I'm going to show you something that I'm working on at the same time as talking about the video that we watched this week. And we're on the third episode, season 1, which is the, what is it, Unlikely Dead? And I don't know. I always forget the name of it. Anyways, so a couple of you have expressed interest in writing in Gallifreyan. So I'm going to write a sentence from the episode, kind of show you guys how to write in Gallifreyan at the same time as talking about the episode. So we'll see how this goes. I think it'll be fun. So the first thing that we do need is the file types that give us the letters. So I have these down here. And they're just a really good reference point. We have the vowels, the individual letters, and then how they kind of come together and pull together. And I'll go ahead and post these, each of these individual documents on my normal Doctor Who board, not the Let's Watch Doctor Who. I want to keep that separate. So just go over to my Pinterest page if you're interested in having those. So in order for them to be a quick reference guide, I'm going to grab them first and then go ahead and open them up with Illustrator. Now, Illustrator is an Adobe program. I know a lot of you may not have it, but you can use these same concepts to draw just on a piece of paper. So these are all coming in and opening for us. Now, on this document, it's mostly this area down here that I want to focus on. So I'm going to zoom in and come down here so that we can really see what's going on. Now on this page I'm going to need everything, so I'm going to keep it pretty much open, and then this one is nice and big. Anyway, so the first thing I'm going to do is create a new document. I like it 15 by 15 inches. It keeps things nice and simple. And I will go ahead and name this with the sentence that I'm going to be using, which is what the doctor says to Rose, "I'm so glad I met you." Alright, I'm going to say OK. And we have a blank piece of paper. So awesome. Now the first thing that I like to do when I'm getting ready to do one of these, when I'm writing a long sentence, is I have it right up top for my reference so that I can just look up and see it, which is easy if you're not doing this on Illustrator, but if you are fortunate enough to have this program, it's nice to just stick it up there right quick. Make this a little bigger so I can see what it is, maybe a little bigger than that. Alright, so whenever you start writing, the first thing you need is a circle. Now over here I've got my toolbox, and right here you can see how it has a little arrow. You hold onto that arrow, you hold down on it, and click on the ellipse tool. That's what we're going to need. Now if you hold down the shift button, you get a perfect circle. So that's what I'm going to go ahead and do. See, if I were to let go, we'd get something like this. Click shift, in comes a circle, and we just want a stroke, not a full circle. Awesome, so now we have our base. So first thing we need to know is how to write an I. So I'm going to come in here, little circle at the end with a line. Now I like to just double check all the different sources. Little circle with a line. You can see all the different ways that it might fit in. Now I've done this a few times now, so I don't always need to check all my sources, but it's just a good habit to get into. See, this one is going to tell me a little bit differently. It's going to tell me on the inside of the circle, but since the other two references gave it to me on the outside, that's what I'm going to go with. So again, with the ellipse tool, I like to stick it in the middle keep everything nice and straight and organized. So I'm going to go ahead and grab a guide just so I can make sure and do that correctly. And a small circle. When you're writing in Gallifreyan, remember vowels are small, letters are larger. Alright, and then I'm going to grab my line tool here and create a line. And now I can go ahead and get rid of the guide. Oop, no, that's not what I want to get rid of. Oh, my guides are locked. Okay. So now we've got the I. And next is an M, so I'm going to swing over here. Big circle in the middle, 3 lines coming out of it. Oops, here we go. So you guys can kind of get the gist of what I'm doing. Now because it's a very small word, I'm going to go ahead and fill up as much of the circle as I can, makes it more interesting. And then maybe go ahead and move this other line over a bit. Sorry, that was just me zooming in. Now I chose this sentence because I just think it's kind of a neat turning point in the story in a lot of ways. It's, ooh. Because so far to this point, the Doctor hasn't expressed that he's glad that Rose is with him. And this is kind of the point where that first happens. And he's just said, you know, we're probably going to die, and I'm really sorry. I dragged you into this. Can you ever forgive me? Kind of a attitude. And then he says, but I'm so glad I met you. And I just think that's kind of a cool thing that he's telling her. It's not just all guilt. He really is happy about the way things have turned out, even though she's probably going to be killed by zombies, is what she calls them. I think it's great. Alright. So, normally when writing an M, I wouldn't do it quite like that, but we wanted to make this look interesting. So that's the first word. Ooh, right, I looked it. So if anybody's following along with me on the computer, I go ahead and grab all of them and hit Command or Control G. That's going to group them all together. Now they're going to move as a unit. Shrink it down so that we can go ahead and start on our next word. Stick it up here so that it's out of the way. Ooh. I am going to change the stroke on this real quick because it just looks silly. There we go. Another small word. So, lots of space. Here we go. Again, hold the shift key. Gets us a nice perfect circle. And again, I'm going to bring in a guide. My guides are turned off. Let's see here. Turn that off so I can move my guides around. Alright, so an S. S is fun. It's a big circle taken out with 3 lines. It gives a lot of creativity and a lot of neat feel to any picture you have. Oh, an S isn't in there. Alright, so here we have an S. Exactly the same as our other instructions, so we know that that is the true instruction. Alright, so I'm going to come down here to the bottom, and now for a long time I did do the perfect circle, but that kind of gives it not the look I'm going for. If I do it like this, bring it down a bit, it looks like more has been taken out than has. Gives me room to add other layers. or letters, and gives it a more interesting look. But you can do whatever you want. So I'm going to select both of these, and my Pathfinder, nope, that's not what I want, minus front. It's going to cut that out for me. Perfect. Now I know that the S needs to have 3 lines coming out of it, but I want to decide where I'm going to put my O first. So I'm going to come over here to my vowels. Now I can put the O right there on the S, or I can make a little circle just inside the larger circle somewhere. See, and now this one is going to be on the line. So that's when I decide, see, and then here we're inside the line. I'm not so sure about this page all the time. Kind of conflicts with what others say. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and put a small circle on the inside. And since this one's kind of veered over to the right of the screen, I'm going to go ahead and put it on the left. Again, smaller circles make the vowels. Even with that crazy S, this might be kind of a boring looking word. Alright, bringing these in. Alright, we have the word so. And it is only so. Very ugly. That's too bad. And now when I'm shrinking it down, you saw it looked all crazy there for a second. I held the shift button down again. It does wonderful things. Now, I'm going to turn this a little bit, and we can make it kind of come in to the circle, like it's a piece coming from it. Again, its weight is not what the other one is, so I'm going to come over here and change that. Want everything to be kind of uniform. Alright, the biggest word in the sentence. Here we go. Some things I noticed while watching this episode this time around was, we lots of times, especially on Pinterest, we talk about when Rose comes out and she's wearing that pretty dress and the doctor says, "You look lovely," or beautiful. I think he says, "You look beautiful." But then right afterwards he says, considering. And we don't talk about that, but I just think it's hilarious that he got caught calling her beautiful. Didn't want to. Alright. So now these down here are going to be the broader circle cutouts. These are a much sharper cutout. There's definitely the whole circle is there. We're just missing just the bottom of it. So we're going to cut those out a little bit differently. And the G just has the one line connected. So you can see that here. These are the ones that are a little tighter, and this one is much broader. So because I know I'm looking for it in the tighter, I'm going to look here, one line, exactly. So as I make my circle, I'm going to come down and just kind of the tip of it is going to be hanging out. Oops, I moved my finger. Come on, you. Come down just a little bit for me. Alright. By grabbing both images, my Pathfinder minus front takes it out. Perfect. And now you can see, even though I just have that tiniest bit, it really takes a lot of the circle out. So you want to be careful with that. And adding our line. Now, sometimes I like to add them straight to the middle, but that makes everything look just so, I don't know, so organized, and I really don't care very much for organization. So, it's overrated. Moving on to the L. Oop. Ah, finally we get the little dots on the inside. Perfect. So it's supposed to be a full circle. 3 little dots. We have our L. Now this is something that I have learned to do, especially if you're going to be doing computer work and if you're going to be writing quite a bit. You'll want to just have these little circles available to you. So now this one has 3. So there's 1. Now there's a bigger one and then there's 2 smaller ones to the side. I want them to be the same size though, so I'm going to grab this by holding down my Option. Well, it's Option on the Mac. I'm sorry, I don't know what it is on a PC. I can copy it over, and now I have them. Now these dots all have to be filled in black. So perfect. And I'm going to go ahead and Command G, group those together, zoom out, and again I'm going to hold down my Option key and make a copy of them, because if I need these little circles at any other point in the rest of our sentence, it's easier if they're just right there available. Now an A, and now I actually have an A memorized, but I'll bring it over just to show you guys. It's a small circle on the outside. So now Gallifreyan, you read like a clock. So always make sure that you are rotating this direction. Forgot to mention that earlier. That's why you can't just, you know, I couldn't just put the L over here and the A over here. You have to rotate. It's Gallifreyan is written in time. You're reading a clock. That's why it all looks like little pieces of a clock. So that's something important to remember when you are writing this. Now I did rotate this one some, but you can still see that this is definitely where it starts and then it comes around to there. I couldn't have rotated it any more than this or it just wouldn't have worked right. So I think you all have the basic gist here. And so I will pin the finished product, but you don't have to sit here and keep watching me create lines and circles.